Hello students, I am Dattatreya dealing with topics of zoology in biology subject. So we are making videos for quick revision of the topics, not in detail first time teaching. So today we'll discuss with 12th class biology topic that is human health and disease. In that first I am going to present a second part. So we deal with some disorders, right? First, let us say uh, cancers, right? Now, there is a popular term known as all cancers are tumors or all tumors are cancers. Which statement is correct? Or all neoplasm. What is neoplasm? An abnormal growth or a new growth can be called neoplasm, right? And in neoplasm, there is a increase in the growth of cells, then a tumor is formed. Then this tumor may be benign or malignant. But where do you use the term cancer? Only for malignant tumors. All tumors may not be cancers, but you can say all cancers are malignant tumors, right? So cancer cells are not dead cells, they're all living cells. So the cancer cells are showing a rapid uncontrolled divisions. Rapid uncontrolled division. Second property, loss of contact inhibition. What does it mean? When a cell is dividing, it comes in contact with other cells. When it comes in contact with other cells, it should stop dividing. That property is lost. It continuously divides. Then there is increase in an enzyme called telomerase. So the enzyme telomerase activity increases here, right? And substances which are binding cells together are called cadherins. Cadherins are intercellular glycoproteins. In epithelial cells, you might have studied about junctions. Cell to cell contacts are called junctions. Cadherins are the cell junctions which are lost so that they can move away from one place to another place. Every cell has a unique property called apoptosis, programmed cell death. A cell is destined with a mechanism to cause death. Means you can say it has a cyanide capsule with it. If it is not working properly, it should die because apoptosis mechanism programmed cell death is activated. But unfortunately, these cancer cells do not undergo the property of apoptosis. So these are taking away nutrients and they cause development of new blood capillaries, vascularization. But other cells are not getting nutrients, so they are competing for nutrients. If they start moving from one place to another place, we use a term called metastasis. So just now I discussed neoplasms, benign and malignant. Malignant are called cancers. Within cancers, actually, there are four broad categories of cancers: carcinomas, sarcomas, lymphomas, and leukemias. So, cancers of epithelial cells, cancers of epithelial cells are called carcinomas. Most abundant, or you can say 85% cancers come under this category because most of the fast dividing, like in the gut, skin epithelium, kidney, etc. Sarcomas. What are sarcomas? So, cancers of connective tissue. For example, there is a cancer in bone, there is a cancer in cartilage, and connective tissue proper. But even though we say connective tissue, very commonly it is used for cancers of mesodermal origin. Lymphomas, cancers of lymphoid tissues, cancers of lymphoid. But here some people also divide based on two categories: Burkitt or Burkitt lymphomas and sorry, Hodgkin's and non-Hodgkin's lymphomas. Burkitt is one variety that is different, but Hodgkin's and non-Hodgkin's is one way. Now, blood cancer, leukemias come under blood cancer, right? Now, so most bone marrow cancer is leukemia. Most cancers, how can be identified, diagnosis by X-ray, CT scan, PET, positron emission tomography in cervical cancer, pap smear, and different techniques. MRI may be also used. Biopsy, tissue may be analyzed. When there is a surgery, they make analysis of cells for a long period of time. Whether cells are continuously dividing or not dividing like that, they make studies. This is only a broad classification. Remember, this is not end of the classification of cancer. There are 200 or more varieties of cancers and study of cancer oncology. And but fortunately, majority of cancers are non-hereditary, means non-familial. Now, genes that cause cancer can be broadly divided into two types. What are they? Oncogenes and tumor suppression genes, two broad categories. Oncogenes, again two types, C-onc and V-onc, means cellular oncogenes and viral. Rouse sarcoma, which was observed in poultry birds, introduced by a virus. Even HIV infection, sometimes a patient will be suffering with some types of cancers. Then cellular oncogenes means every person is provided with a gene which can cause cancer. But normally person is provided with proto-oncogenes. Because of some mutation, it gets transformed into oncogenes. This is oncogenic transformation. Oncogenic transformation. Tumor suppression genes actually dominant is normal gene. One of the example is P53 gene. P53 gene. So P53 gene is an example of tumor suppression genes. So then, what are the various methods? So, but in this case, cellular oncogenes, normal unfortunately is recessive, and a mutant variety which cause cancer will be dominant. There will be many genes actually, right? Therapies, what are the methods followed? Not one variety. Many times immune system is activated. For example, we are using interferons, alpha interferon. Normally interferons will act as antiviral substances. How do they act as antiviral? Because they stimulate the immune system. So when immune system is activated, for example, NK cells are activated, they will go and destroy the antigens, right? Sorry, antigens are tumor antigens. Abnormal antigens may be also seen in cancer. So immunotherapy and various metals which activate alumina adjuvants are used, which will activate as immunostimulants. Then radiation therapy. They try to destroy fastly dividing cells, then cancer can be controlled, but unfortunately there can be side effect like alopecia, loss of hair, and anemia, decrease in blood supply is called anemia. Right. Chemotherapy using various chemicals, surgery, surgical removal, maybe a combination of. For example, vincristine and vinblastine extracted from Vinca rosea, when the Taxol extracted from Taxus baccata, which are commonly used in the treatment of cancer. Coming to second part of this, let us now come to another part. Our immune system's main function is to block entry of any pathogen. So pathogen trying to enter into the body, that should be blocked. But in this case, what it is happening is disorders of immune system I'm discussing now. So there will be various disorders of immune system. So why an immune system is having some problem? It can be deficiency, it is not working sufficiently, which can be primary. By birth developed deficiency is primary immunodeficiency, like SSC-ID, SCID. Severe combined immunodeficiency disease, right? Severe combined immunodeficiency disease is by birth developed disorder, genetic disorder. Second one, infections will cause various deficiencies like HIV infection, AIDS, human immunodeficiency virus. AIDS means acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Then exaggerated, if immune system is not functioning properly or less than normal, we say deficiency. If it is working excessively, we call it hypersensitivity. Exaggerated immune response is called hypersensitivity, and in which one of the variety is allergy. So example, allergy. Allergic rhinitis, for example, histamine, bradykinin excessively produced, capillary dilation, and there can be respiratory problems because they also cause bronchial constriction, right? If antigen enters, body should respond, but it should not overact, right? That leads to hypersensitivity. Then when organs are transplanted, our body considers this as a foreign, so that will try to reject it. So they are called graft rejection reactions, right? Which is mostly by TC cells, so you can call it cell mediated. And autoimmune, our body is trying to protect, but unfortunately, if it starts reacting to our own antigens, then we can call it autoimmune disorder. Example is rheumatoid arthritis. So affecting joints. Graves' disease, thyroid is excessively active. Myasthenia gravis, that is a disorder affecting joints. Myasthenia gravis, right? Now, these are some of the disorders, right? Then let us come to another thing, HIV. So I'm just going to make a quick revision of points. HIV is a RNA virus. What is its genetic material? It contains RNA as genetic. Two single-stranded RNA molecules are present, covered by a protein layer in which lipid layer is present, right? Inner and outer protein layer with glycolipids. But it has a special enzyme called a reverse transcriptase. So you see the intelligence, it is very small microscopic primitive creature virus. Once it enters human beings, it dictates the terms to human beings or other animals. First, the such viruses which make DNA from RNA are called retroviruses. Now, so it has its protein coat. Once it enters into human cell, like animal cell, its genetic material RNA is released. From this, it produces DNA from RNA by using enzyme reverse transcriptase. Normally we synthesize RNA from DNA, that is transcription, but in this case it is reverse transcription. So that's why the enzyme is called reverse transcriptase. This single stranded DNA gets converted to double stranded viral DNA. Now this viral DNA goes and gets incorporated into genome. Now it is entering into the genome, host DNA. Once it gets incorporated here, you can call it provirus. Now this human cell itself starts producing new viral RNA particles. Now new viruses are produced with the RNA. Now these cells are coming out like DNA produces RNA. Now human DNA with viral DNA produces new viral RNA particles which can cause infection to other persons. That is the problem with HIV. First, it was detected in 1981 by Center for Disease Control, right? And this spreading continuously like a wildfire, but it's not uh, you can say it does not spread very quickly. So like diseases, some spread from person to person. We call it infectious, but it is not contagious like other viruses, common cold, the flu, or you can say corona. They spread very easily, but fortunately, HIV virus does not spread like that. So only the you can say general means of communication is blood transfusion or sexual contact. So or you can say body fluids, they come in contact with that easily, they can get transmitted. So better way is to prevent infection. Prevent infection means prophylaxis. For detecting, what are the methods commonly used in this? The methods used are ELISA diagnosis. We can say it is very commonly using detecting antibodies. So we can say it is indirect ELISA. We can call it indirect ELISA. But other methods to detect are PCR, polymerase chain reaction, and Western blot method. So these two techniques are used for confirmation, but screening test is ELISA test. So thus initially does not show any infection or any symptom, sorry, any infection, and it does not asymptomatic initially. But even cannot be detected initially, then that period is called a window period. So what is meant by window period? The period when a person is affected but cannot be detected up to 45 days, 15 to 45 days. Then he starts producing antibodies, then you can detect. So window period is the period when he is infected and does not show or cannot be detected. Whereas generally for any parasite we use another term called incubation period, and person is infected but does not show symptoms, that is incubation period. So better is to prevent, as they use various things like azithromycin, like other drugs which prevent its replication for some time, but 100% it cannot be cured. Then they start showing some symptoms like diarrhea, uh, and immunity becomes weak, frequent cold and other problems, TB, and opportunistic infections. When immune system is weak, the body gets attacked by various things. Then such things are called opportunistic infections. Right. Then coming to another thing is drugs. First, let us classify like this. So drugs are broadly classified into three categories. What are they? So they are called opioids, opioids, coca alkaloids, and cannabinoids, three basic categories, right? And opioids are extracted from papaver somniferum, coca alkaloids are from erythroxylum coca, cannabinoids are from cannabis sativa. If a drug is used for some medicinal purpose, we don't call it drug abuse. Other than prescribed conditions, if it is misused, then we call it drug abuse. Nowadays, India and many countries, they have the problem of TDA, tobacco and drug abuse, right? So sexually transmitted diseases are also mostly affecting adolescent periods, unfortunately, and the AIDS were like diseases were found to be very commonly affecting people between 15 to 24 years of age. So very caution should be there to prevent such infections. Right. Similarly, drugs. First time use of a drug may be due to curiosity, experimentation. They just want to see, but later, once they get habituated, it leads to addiction. So, first use cannot be addiction. So, various plants, unfortunately, normal plants which are used for eating and various products, same plants, some plants may be used for extraction of drugs. So, morphine, heroin, or the sub naturally morphine is obtained. Then heroin is a semi-synthetic drug, diacetyl morphine, which is also called smack. And these opioids, unfortunately, some of these products they are used in household in small doses. They are not dangerous actually. They are used in our cooking purpose in making masalas. But we have cannabinoid receptors present in our gastrointestinal tract and brain also. In this variety, opioids are called, they may be misused for numbing the pain. After surgery, there may be a severe pain. To control that, it may be used. And that is one thing, right? Then second variety, coca alkaloids. They will be stimulating our system. Erythroxylum coca. Cocaine, coke is also called crack. This coke in high doses interferes with a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine, acetylcholine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, these are all neurotransmitter. But dopamine is very important controlling behavior of human being. So that can be modified by this. So dopamine transport is changed so that behavior is changed. Even hallucinations can be caused by this. But cannabinoids are very potential hallucinogens. They can create a lot of hallucination. Ganja, hashish, charas, marijuana during holy period, the bhang commonly used in many places is also extracted from this, right? So cannabis sativa plant, various products of this plant are misused in Mexico and other parts. And we also have, and in cannabinoids also, the problem is we have receptors in the brain, and then there are, you can say, cardiovascular system. So how drugs are taken, either they are snorted, deep inhalation is called snorting, or just sniffing, smelling, or oral intake, or injection. Injection route means parenteral route. And other plants misused are datura, atropa belladonna used as hallucinogen, benzodiazepam used as tranquilizer. What is tranquilizer? That calms down the brain. Barbiturates, sedatives, sleep inducing are called sedatives. Then tobacco, from many years, I can say we have more than 300 years history of tobacco used in different things like chewing, smoking, cigarette, cigar, and even snuff powder form it is inhaled. So when it is inhaled, like in cigarette and tobacco, or other ways, crude tobacco, carbon monoxide level increase which competes with hemoglobin, oxygen transport is decreased, and there is a chance of getting lung problems like lung cancer, throat cancer, cancers of urinary bladder and other things. In addition to that, emphysema like lung disorders chances increase. Nicotine is a addictive substance. Nicotine particularly addictive substance which can stimulate release of adrenal medulla is stimulated, so that adrenaline, noradrenaline are produced, that increases blood pressure. Benzopyrenes. What are benzopyrenes? They are the carcinogenic substances present in tobacco. And another problem is alcohol. Alcohol in different forms, whiskey, rum, gin, etc., maybe various types of beverages. And this alcohol, even in small dose, many of these drugs in small doses, occasionally they're used for some treatment, they're not dangerous. But once a person starts even for one time, it becomes uh, a subsequently that becomes a cause for continuation. This alcohol is getting converted to aldehydes and fats. Liver will develop more and more fats. Fatty liver syndrome, liver is inactivated. So first main organ that is going to be affected with the chronic alcoholism is liver. Second is brain. Which part of the brain? Cerebellum. So balance is disturbed, right? So alcohol, because liver is one of the important detoxifying center. There is a second way of classifying drugs, because many times this is also asked, because in old NCERT book this concept is also given. So try to remember this type also. So you can classify them into depressants, stimulants, opiates, just we have discussed now, morphine, codeine, heroin, etc. They are used in cough, suppression of cough, also opiates. Then what changes the perception of a person? They are called hallucinogens. Hallucinogen mean a different perception than the actual condition. If brain activity is decreased, we call it depressants. They are tranquilizers and sedative. Example of tranquilizer. Tranquilizers, the example just earlier we have discussed, benzodiazepam, sedative, barbiturate. Sometimes both effects may be seen, like Valium, calming effect, sleep inducing, etc. Then stimulants, they increase activity of nervous system, amphetamines, the sleepless pills, cocaine, caffeine. Excess drinking of coffee and tea may also have such problems. So these cannabinoids, so mescaline, psilocybin, LSD, lysergic acid, diethylamide. Many times sports persons misuse certain drugs. So sports persons are misusing certain drugs. So what are the drugs misused by sports persons? That is, they are anabolic steroids. Anabolic steroids, right? Okay. So anabolic steroids and also uh, doping cannabinoids. They artificially increase the body's ability, so they will try to do. So what is happening nowadays, sports are meant for relaxation, calming of brain, but unfortunately it is increasing the tension, competitiveness. When they are not able to compete, they have to accept, but they are not doing that. So to overcome that, somehow they want to fight using drugs, getting disqualified, banned, causing severe health hazards. That is the most um, problematic thing. Like premature baldness in males, increased aggressiveness, mood swings, and development of breast, like some feminine characters are developed in males. In the same way, in females, they start showing enlargement of clitoris. and hoarse voice, mood swings, depression, etc. These are all the things. So many of the psychological problems for treatment they use drugs, but misused also it creates psychological problems, right? Then, so here there is another point. Now, addiction and dependence. Addiction and dependence. Addiction means psychologically they're attached to a drug. So they are having a craving. Every day they are habituated. So they crave for that, like smoking and other things. But what is another thing? Dependence. When they stop using a drug, then they get a severe problem like a feeling unpleasant withdrawal symptoms. So they start showing like shakiness, nausea, shivering. Once they consume the drug, then the problems are solved. So thus it takes medical counseling to come out of the problem. So once they go to the stage of dependence, it is not advised by a person to directly advise them and stop taking drugs, because medical supervision, they take some alternative medicines are given to come out of these bad effects, right? So there are structural details also we have to memorize, like for example, uh, so first one, cannabinoids, chemical structure, and opium poppy plant. And here cannabinoid leaves is a structure of cannabinoids. First one is morphine. This is third one is datura plant. Right? These are the important points about the drugs.